We're talking Oklahoma State Cowboy basketball, joined by Associate Head Coach James Miller. And it's a tough loss at TCU, but then you stop and think about it. There were a lot of positives. I mean, you think about what Isaiah Coleman did in the game. You think about Kanye Clary scoring 9 points in the first 8.5 minutes when you really needed those points to stay afloat. I mean, there were a lot of positives, and it's unfortunate that the last 4 minutes went the way they did.
Yeah, the way the game ended obviously is really disappointing for all of us. But there are some positives. I mean, that's Isaiah Coleman that we need to have on a more consistent basis. His aggressiveness and getting his athleticism and finishing into the game was big for us. And then obviously Kanye kind of getting us out of that early part of the game slump where we start off a little slow. And I think maybe one of the biggest takeaways is, defensively, that's the kind of effort we've been trying to bottle up for a whole game. And did a really good job of it for 35, 36 minutes, and then our offense let us down at the end, and then we couldn't get a stop when we really needed to. So yeah, that is disappointing. But at the same time, you're in the Big 12. You have to play really well to win. It doesn't matter who you're playing, and you have to make plays down the stretch, and we just didn't make enough of them.
Yeah, you think about it too. Parsafala gets 2 points. I think if anyone would have said going into the game that Parsa is going to score 2 points, you probably don't feel like the game is within 10 points, but even though you didn't win the game, it seems like the capability to maybe win in different ways. You didn't get the game quite finished, but it maybe shows some versatility maybe?
Yeah, and I think it speaks to our depth where, some of these guys that don't always get as much opportunity come in and they made some plays for us and stepped up in a big way. And I think it does show that we can win in different ways. Some nights it's, typically it's our guards and then some nights it's Parsa, and last night just wasn't his night. But obviously had some other guys step up and again, just fell short. But when you play such quality teams and you're playing on the road, you need your best players to play well. And so therefore, we needed those guys to step up, and I'm glad they did. But again, like you just said, just couldn't quite capitalize on it.
And again, we don't want to make too much of this, but, outside of those last few minutes, you played very well on the road against a team that has been hovering around 40 in the net, team that right now would be in the NCAA tournament. How much value is there in that? Even though you didn't finish, it's like, hey, we can go to a team, it's an NCAA tournament team, and we can beat them on the road. We showed that we could. Is there any value to that or no?
There's value in the sense of, that's what we are trying to do as well as being an NCAA tournament team, and you play a team like TCU had lost a few in a row, but at the same time they just got off a long trip to BYU and Utah, which everybody knows is a very difficult trip, and they had both of those teams on the ropes, and, just like us, some of those outcomes that they've had could have gone the other way in their favor as well. So, there's a little bit of silver lining knowing that, hey, we can go on the road and beat some teams if we play the right way and we can finish the games. But at the same time, obviously we're all pretty much a wins and losses and bottom line business. And so that's the hard part is you try to keep it in perspective. You try to leave the arena last night understanding that, hey, we did a lot of really good things and that we put ourselves in a position to win the basketball game. We just didn't finish it. And so that part's disappointing. But at the same time, when you play 18 games in a tough league like this, you need to continue to get better every single game. And if we can continue to get better, incrementally each game, then I think where we're going to be at the end of the season is where we all want to be.
And there are very few breaks in the Big 12 schedule, and that's certainly the case with what's coming up. You face Iowa State in Gallagher-Iba Arena Saturday, a team that had lost a couple in a row, but in typical Iowa State fashion, they got well Tuesday night with a 30-point win at home over UCF. Have you noticed anything that has changed with them? It's only been 2 weeks since we've seen them. Like most teams, they'll have a dip and lose a couple, but usually they get well.
Yeah, they had to go on the road for 2 very difficult games and ended up losing those. Anytime you go to Kansas is difficult,
yeah.
And so that kind of got them in a little bit of funk. And then they went to Cincinnati, who people are saying they're not very good, and then Cincinnati beat them very handily. So, again, it's tough to win on the road in the Big 12. And so now you have Iowa State coming to the house, and, they've changed a little bit how they're playing offensively, but pretty similar. We know that if we play like we did up there, minus a few of the mistakes that we had, especially early in the second half, we'll have a chance to win the game on Saturday night. And so in the Big 12, like you said, there are no breaks. You don't have a lot of time to lick your wounds. You got to pick yourself back up off the mat, and you got to get back to work. And so that's what we're doing today and with our mindset of trying to beat Iowa State on Saturday night.
Yeah, you mentioned trying to improve a couple of things. What are maybe a couple of things that you feel like you need to do better to give you a chance to finish a game? You led Iowa State for much of the first half up there 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, in regards to Iowa State, we didn't defensively rebound the ball very well, especially in the second half, and that absolutely killed us. And then they got away and made a couple threes that hurt us. And so if we can guard the three-point line like we did up there, though, where I think they made 5 or 6 over the course of the game, and that's usually a pretty good recipe for our success in winning games. And then rebound the basketball and defend like we did for the majority of that game up there, we'll have a chance. And I think since that game, for the most part, we've shown some strides defensively. We still have a long way to go. But if we can kind of piggyback what we did up there along with what we did last night at TCU and kind of couple that and do that for the full 40 minutes, then we'll give ourselves a chance.
Cowboys and Iowa State Saturday afternoon at 3, and we'll see you then.